Happy Saturday, everybody. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. Nice, chilly, winterish Saturday morning. Let's get it. What I want to talk about in the NBA viewership. And I've been asking the comment section about it. I don't see how y'all don't see the lies attached to it and y'all don't see the play. I see the play. Before you make a move, you have to campaign for it, especially in business. The campaign has to begin. And they're campaigning already. We're going to talk about what they're campaigning for and what these alleged rumors I've been hearing are. You know what I mean? But we're going to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new, because this is interesting. You know what I mean? If you believe that the viewership is down for the NBA and that it's falling off, y'all are missing the big picture. Definitely missing the big picture. How do you get a $76 billion media contract if viewership is down? If viewership is as low as they say it is, and they're not being real specific when they speak of viewership, I don't see it as it being diminished so much as being diversified. We are watching it on unconventional devices. They were not equipped to keep track of what we're watching on our phones or what these different apps have as far as data of what we're watching. They don't exchange data like you think they do. You got to buy that. You got to pay for that. They license that type of shit out to you. You don't just get their information. So if you're speaking of the traditional sense of watching the NBA on a TV set, viewership may look a little wild to you. But you're wilding if you think the viewership for the NBA is down. How? How, Sway? How? When they're investing hundreds of millions of dollars, close to billions of dollars, in the NBA conversation and entertainment value as we speak, but the viewership is down. People like me and other guys who talk about basketball, we're getting paid. The NBA players are getting paid. The NBA is getting paid. All these sites are connected to the NBA. Everyone is getting paid. How is viewership down when there's more money than there's ever been? And players are getting paid more than they've ever been paid. Make it make sense to me. You know what I mean? You know, I'm from the Bronx. This sound like bullshit to me. Sound like that's what the bosses say to the employees when they trying to cut the wages. When they're trying to keep the salaries out of pace with the revenues and the profit and the profit sharing. You only want to pay your employees but so much. And with all this information on social media, people forget that some things get lost in translation, and everything, no matter how connected they look, are not really as connected as they seem to be. These are individual entities making their own money. Hulu got games. HBO got games. This one got games. That one got games. Fubo got games. Like, everybody got the NBA games, but they're saying viewership is down. No, it's diversified. It's harder to keep track of. Viewership is, one dude was like, yo, viewership is lower than the WNBA. The WNBA as a whole made $12 million. There's at least 200 players that are going to make $12 million this year in the NBA. Like, let's be clear. There are some guys' salaries, realistically, that umbrella the WNBA. So that viewership comparison is ridiculous when the money is telling you otherwise. You have to campaign when change is necessary. And I've been telling y'all for years that change is necessary contractually. It's coming gradually. It's coming gradually. They're not trying to pay these young kids who are coming into the NBA, who have diversified interests as well, who aren't giving basketball their 100% to get paid as if they do. And one, they're also getting paid off of past equity. Their pops, uncles, ex-ball players, they all put in the sweat equity to build the value to this point. Every generation gets the benefits of the generation before them, which I understand. But when you're talking about entertainment value and interest in comparison to their peer group and their generation, they pale in comparison. You can't compare any of these young NBA players to a Kai Cenat or any young guy. You can't, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, Mr. Beast. You can't compare them to anybody on social media who has an equivalent following or a bigger following. You're fighting for the interests of the fan bases, and the fan bases are going to all these different places. A lot of us don't go to ESPN or Fox Sports to hear the results of the games. We're going on YouTube to hear our favorite personalities articulate what happened and have conversations in the chat or the comment section. And the NBA isn't getting that stream of interest. And they're not able to quantify that. But it's bigger than it's ever been. The whole world is involved in the NBA conversation. More than ever before. The NBA conversation, the entertainment value is through the roof. It's just that they know what's coming in. They see the product that's coming in. It's not going to be as entertaining as what's out there in comparison. They're competing against Hulu, Netflix, even Tubi, Paramount, Showtime, HBO. All these other apps are competing. And then you have the NBA with their licensing. They have to block out certain games, and it's turning people off. Even if the price is magnificent at $16.99, it's tough to have your game blocked out. People like me who are like, I'm a radio head. I'm a radio baby. Born in the 70s. Was outside in the 80s, grew up in all these different eras and had a lot to see. I grew up when the radio was important, when there was no hip hop on the radio, when it was all R&B or pop, and when Soul Train and American Bandstand were both on Saturdays, Saturday morning cartoon era. You know what I mean? So you see all these things, and you understand the evolution of a thing. Basketball is more famous than it's ever been. You can't explain to me how it isn't. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter all the time. The entertainment value is higher than it's ever been. And I've seen it evolve into where it is today. So a lie is, like, they have to. You're not trying to pay $100 million for a kid who isn't as popular as their social media counterpart. The investment in NBA players having podcasts is ridiculous. Thanasis, I keep telling y'all, Thanasis has a podcast. And he has guests on the podcast. So they're expanding. Charles Barkley, his contract is crazy. Like, the thing about these young players, they're competing against their social media contemporaries. Back in the day, it was the movie stars and the artists and music and actors and actresses on Broadway and all these other. It was a very small community. Now it's worldwide. Anybody can go viral and hit a wave. Hell, I'm waiting for mine. I'm waiting for my wave. That's why I'm going into entertainment and the other portion of it, music and hip hop and all. I'm gonna have fun doing that as well. It's been a couple of years. People have been asking for it, so I'm gonna do it going into the back nine of this year, next year, and the new channel will be up and running. It's gonna be fun because that's where the financial gratification is gonna be. I love talking about the Raptors. I love talking about basketball. It's what I do. It's what I enjoy. But for the business, the economic gratification, I'm definitely going to go over there and talk about that because I've been seeing dudes really come up. And I'm like, if they could get it, I could definitely get me a piece of something. I'm a hustler. I'm sorry. I can't just see people get money and not want to try and get a little something for myself. But the NBA is everywhere. And they're campaigning for the renegotiation of these deals. They're not trying to overpay for talent and influence that they're not going to necessarily have in comparison to what's being put out there by the Instagrams and the TikToks as far as influencers. They're fighting for everybody's attentions. These young kids that are coming in are fans of other influencers. You're not investing $100 million a year into a kid who's a fan of someone else, who's not even in sports, who's just on social media. You're trying to find a healthy medium to pay them a decent wage, but let's not get crazy. If it's LeBron or, Steph or something like that, that group, that generation, yeah, they deserve that bag. But whatever comes after, you're getting paid based off of their sweat equity and their relationships. The entertainment value is not the same because it's diversified. You can't quantify it in one space and scale it as fast as you used to. You have to get in conversations and relationships with different people so that they can share their numerics with you so you can get a better understanding. It's probably not happening. And I don't see them wanting to overpay anybody from the post-LeBron era. You know what I mean? Like right now at this pace, it's going to be these kids are going to get 100 million. Like Webby isn't. Let's listen. Victor Wembanyama is good. He's a good player. Good, solid player. All-star, all-NBA player. But y'all ain't watching him like that. Y'all not. Y'all do. Everybody's doing their own personal thing. If DJ Academics goes live, you're not watching that game, especially if he got a hot topic. You're not watching the Spurs game. If Kai Cenat goes and he has Lil Wayne on there talking about the Carter 6, y'all gonna watch that. Y'all not watching. It's so fragmented and spread out. The viewership, everybody is kind of giving bits and pieces of their attention to these different places. And whoever lights that fire and catches them for a longer period of time is going to win. The NBA is competing against Twitch and Rumble and all these other places. And with people getting demonetized on YouTube and going to these other places, and some people are creating their own apps, they're pulling the attention further and further away from all these other traditional places, especially television. People are watching, we're watching NBC, ABC, CBS on our phones and on apps. We're not watching it on television like we used to. We're not. So the advertising dollars are being put forth in a different manner, and they have to renegotiate these deals. They have to put it in proper perspective. They did it with the AI era. Remember, Big Dog wanted 100 million coming into the NBA. Listen, he was the best player in college basketball, but he wanted 100 million coming in. He ended up getting 68 coming in after getting drafted. They nipped that in the bud early. Now it's to the point where they have to get back to renegotiating, having that contract, that conversation again. So now this is what they're doing. They're campaigning for that conversation. And I'm hearing rumors of an alleged lockout coming. When LeBron retires, there's rumors of an alleged lockout that's going to happen, so that this conversation has to happen, because they're not trying to go bankrupt overpaying players who don't have an influence on the audience like their peer group and who they're actually a fan of. The NBA player used to stand tall above it all. They had a certain presence. Now it's not there. There's other guys. There's other people. There are people all throughout social media that are getting paid and have a bigger following than some NBA players, especially the young kids that are coming in, especially the ones that don't have a celebrity dad or all NBA top 75 dad. Nobody know y'all. Ain't nobody rushing to see you, so they're going to pull back in. So you can't tell me viewership is supposedly down in the traditional sense. Yeah, we can have that conversation. But overall, the NBA conversation hasn't been this big ever, with the Gilbert Arenases and the Stacks and the Matt Barnes, and then you got Mason Cam, shout out to them. You got all these different places, and then you have us on YouTube. Like, the NBA conversation is alive and well. Like, that's just Stephen A. Smith won $100 million. Charles Barkley allegedly got $200 million. Charles Barkley. Kendrick Perkins is getting paid. Everybody's getting paid talking about the NBA. The vibe, we the vibe. The NBA entertainment value is basically, it's the vibe. No other sport is the vibe. All the cool kids are over here. Let's not lie to ourselves. They're forcing it with the NFL. It's not as cool as when they talk about the NBA. Let's keep it a buck. There's some guys that are dope, but they're not connected to the major networks. You just have professionals who aren't cool at all. It's a different mentality. The NBA player is recognizable instantaneously and have to be a people person to a certain extent. You gotta talk a certain way. Your hand, like how you move is different. And ball players have always been cooler than football players. That's a fact. Let's just stop bullshitting. Ball players have always been cooler than football players, period. Football players are the muscle, don't get it confused. But the coolest dudes have always been the ball players. Second to only the baseball players. Track and field dudes are even cooler than the football players. It's where it's lit, you can't lie about it. The NBA has a strong presence in social media. It's just the players aren't it. It's not the players driving the conversation. It's us driving the conversation. Me and you. Our interaction. There's many conversations going on that they can't have on network television. And there's certain conversations we can't have online. But the reality is, conversations are getting had and people are being drawn to these different aspects and angles of conversation and perspective. You can't say the viewership is down. It is, because you wouldn't notice if it was down if somebody didn't tell you. We've been watching and talking about the NBA the whole time. If you're saying the game, the basketball game, because we can't watch certain games on TV. We can't watch, we're moving around. Everyone is a moving molecule nowadays. So you're watching it how you can on your phone, on your tablet, and you're listening to it. It's all fragmented. It's not just us in front of our, grandma TV or mom's TV or dad or your TV in your room, and you just watching it and they're tracking it that way through Nielsen. It's different now. You got to calculate it different now. You know what I mean? And that's just the reality of it. The NBA conversation it ain't never been this big. Don't let them lie to you. It ain't never been this big, but they have to gear up for a real conversation. And we've been talking about this for years. I've been telling y'all this for years. They're going to go into more of an NFL type contract. They've already used it in Houston. They've utilized it in certain pockets with the younger guys. They're testing it out in real time in front of us. So let's be clear on what this is. This is a money move. Essence the green room. Let's talk about the bag. They don't want to pay these kids or overpay these kids when their influence isn't that of their contemporaries. They're not getting people to watch. They're not getting people to purchase. They're not getting people to come. We're conversating because that's just what we do anyway. This is what we do anyway. We're driving the conversation. They're not. You see all these young kids coming into the NBA, they're socially awkward. They're just cooler than other. And it's getting to the point where the NFL kids that are coming in got a different vibe and a different swag as well. They're definitely putting the pressure on them. They got to maintain the status quo. The ball player has always been cooler than the football player, but they're gaining ground now. Travis Hunter and all these other, they bringing the cool back. Deion is showing them what to do. So let's be clear on that. But this next group of kids, they're just not cool enough to get our attention. Let's be honest. Let's keep it a buck. So they're anticipating 10 years down the line, and they're not trying to overpay. Because this $76 billion might be the big payday they've been looking for years, and it might not come again. Once LeBron is gone, that's it. The cash cow, the cash cow is gone. LeBron has always he's brought so many people riches, it's ridiculous. And this is just all of this, just posturing for the real conversation they want to have. Renegotiation with the NBA union, trying to figure out a healthy medium because they don't want to overpay for lackluster personalities. They might be able to hoop, but what brings people to the games now is the person, the relationship we have, how we could connect to them. They're socially awkward, a little more socially awkward than the other groups. These are the kids that grew up in the gated communities or in environments that aren't as chaotic as the ones we grew up in. Because as parents, we want to protect them from certain ills, and we want to protect ourselves from certain heartaches. And it bleeds into the business. So now they're not trying to pay for, a more, I want to say, passive personality who think they too cool for school, too cool to make that connection with people. They got to work for it. They got to work for it on and off the court, because you're competing against the Kaiser Nets. You're competing against the academics, the WAC. You're competing against all these personalities now. It ain't just sports and entertainment, that club. It's widening and it's worldwide. Everyone has a phone and everyone has an opinion and everyone has a fan base. Whether it's larger, some are bigger than others, but you hit a wave, you in the mix. Once you get in the mix, you can't just not be a part of the wave anymore. And a lot of NBA players are getting into podcasting. The machine is behind them, and that's what's making them a little cooler than what they really are. Because we really don't want to hear what they got to say, because we never wanted to hear them really talk about anything anyway. But when you put the machine behind them and the right lights and the production people and the engineers and all these people behind them, it looks like a more polished production, and you may want to hear their opinion and see what the entertainment value is. But you can't compare it to what's going on with everybody else. It's very hard. So the viewership may seem down, but the conversation is spreading. If you add all the numbers up, the NBA, honestly, from an entertainment and attraction and attention standpoint, has never been as big as it is now. It's just the traditional way of looking through the Nielsen rating and all that other stuff. You're not getting the numbers that you're accustomed to, because now the advertisers are like, listen, we not paying XYZ for the 30 seconds. Look, the view now, and now they have to trickle that conversation down to the players. Hey, if we not getting this money from the advertisers, we're not paying you the ridiculous amount of money, because you're the ones that's supposed to attract you're the talent that's supposed to attract the people to us, so that we can get the advertising dollars and they can market their product to us. If you can't get these people attention at the rate this investment that they're putting into the marketing and advertising would benefit them, then listen, they're going to cut them checks in half, and it's going to be your check that get cut in half in the end. The ownership ain't like, we ain't cutting ours, we cut yours. But the NBA hasn't been any stronger than this. It's super strong. The conversation is big. $76 billion. Trying to tell me what? And viewership is down, and teams are getting new arenas, and there's expansions talk all around the world. Man, yeah, all right. They can lie to y'all. The money, listen. The streets are still paved with gold, but it's gonna be all right. But we gonna see, man. Tell me what you think in the comment section. I just wanted to touch base on this, just to give my perspective. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. I'm out of here. Peace.